Good morning, everybody. This morning we're gonna continue our Csny archive release review series or archive box set review series with part 3 of the series, our look at the Csny 74 box set. This is a um, this is a 4 CD set, 3 CDs, and 1 DVD. Um, Before we start with the review, though, I'm going to give you a little background on the Csny 74 reunion tour. In 1973, several members of Csny started showing up at each other's solo gigs, and in 1973 they all convened at a Winterland performance at a Winterland Manassas show, and they performed several songs after Stephen and Manassas's main set. And by the summer of 1974, they had also, for years, the public had been clamoring for a reunion tour, and in 1974, Neil, Stephen, David, and Graham decided to go ahead and go out on a reunion tour. But before the tour started, they decided to try and record a studio record. So they traveled, or they started recording at Neil's ranch, but the sessions came to nothing, except there were some unreleased recordings that still remain unreleased to this day, such as Little Blind Fish, that David would later put on a CPR record. Um, um, but and so. And by this time, David was deep into his drug habit, and so he was paranoid all the time, but they went ahead with the tour. And actually, he called it the Doom Tour, because it would seem to be doomed from the start. And they toured stadiums. They toured mostly stadiums, and the tour was very decadent. I mean, they had the tour logo was designed by designed by Joni Mitchell, and it was burnt. They had teak dinner plates, and it was burned into the wood of the dinner plates, and they had pillowcases with the tour logo on them, and but so this tour was very decadent, and very little of the tour money that was made from the tour went back to the artists involved. And after the tour ended, the four of them had you know had words with the tour accountant, and and again, after the tour ended, they attempted to record a studio record in Hawaii. Actually, they went so far as to shoot a cover photo for the record, which was to be called Human Highway. But like the first attempt, it came to nothing. And Neil would later put Human Highway on Comes a Time. But let me get to the actual box set. Now, the tour was filled with rarities, and so is this box set. Among them, the way the shows were structured, or the CS&Y portion of the shows were structured, because they had tour support acts too that went on before them, such as the band and the Beach Boys. But the way the CS&Y portions were structured is they would do 3 sets. One acoustic set, and then they'd take one electric set, and then they'd take a break and do an acoustic set, and then they'd take another, and then they end with another electric set. And like I said, the tour and resulting box set is filled with rarities. Among them, an early live version and a great live version of "Carry Me," a song that David and Graham would record a couple years later for "Wind on the Water." And the box set opens with a bombastic but fantastic version of "Love the One You're With," and you know, Neil was kind of disappointed in everybody, because he was the only one that really had a wealth of new material to play on the tour. I mean, he had On the Beach out, so he played several songs from that, including On the Beach, and a song that was about the Manson murder. I believe had something. The song was inspired by the Manson murders, called Revolution Blues. And actually, because of David's paranoia, he refused to play on that song. And and of course, they have the obligatory Deja Vu, Almost Cut My Hair, and a song of Stevens that has always been one of my favorites, called Changing Partners, which Graham jokes at this right before the song. It's something that they had been doing for years, which is the truth. And also, they do, of course, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, but Stephen does a nice version of Johnny's Garden, which is a song that is from his Manassas catalog. And along with the box set, there is a DVD of some video footage. Unfortunately, I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't a whole show, but some of the video footage Johnny, um, Deja Vu, and one more I can't remember. Um, but again, along with the box set, there is a nice book detailing the tour, and telling the whole story of the tour, which I just laid out for you in an abridged form. But they also they released the collection in several formats, among them record, CD, a CD set, triple, and single CD. The single CD version is the acoustic part of the acoustic set from the tour. From the single CD is acoustic performances from the tour, but they also released it in a deluxe edition, which included the CD, DVD, and records. And after they did one more show in London at Wembley, and there was talk of releasing that as a live album and video, but the band saw it the day after the show and they were disgusted by the quality. I mean, by the end of the tour, they were shot. Stephen was sick, and David was sick, and Graham and Neil had gone off. They had decided to go across the Sahara Desert in Neil's car, Wembley, but that blew up, and so they had to divert to Amsterdam, where they got jobs, tried to get jobs parking cars, but they failed. That didn't work out, so they just flew home. And Neil's manager, Elliot Roberts, started out managing the tour, but he became sick, and so he handed the tour off to legendary manager Bill Graham. And so I give Csny 74 about 10,000 stars, and I hope you enjoy it. Enjoy the collection. Coming up in a couple days, we will continue the series with our look at the CSN 1991 box set. Here's a little addendum. The box set was released on June 8th, 2014 by Rhino Records, and it was produced by Graham Nash and Joel Bernstein.